Hi guys, welcome to your first lecture for your very first week of the student teaching program. I would like to go over your role as a teacher. That's the title of this lecture, the role of a teacher and how important it is. I want you to just write this statement down. There is music in every child. The teacher's job is to find it and nurture it. That statement was made by Francis Clark, who was a famous pedagogue. Pedagogue means the art of teaching. So to be a piano pedagogue means that you are a expert at teaching teachers, as well as teaching the art of piano as well. So this is, in a sense, is a piano pedagogy type of a class. But I want you to think about that statement. There's music in every child. The teacher's job is to find it and nurture it. So again, thinking about the role of a teacher and what it means to be a music teacher and how important it is. We think about teachers for elementary school or high school, or even if you're homeschooled, we think about your teacher, whether it be your parents who are teaching you school. There is a role for it, and it's a very important role. And I want you to think about that and think about this statement as well. I'm going to say the statement. I want you to think whether it's true or not, true or false. Teachers are born, not made. This statement has been used for decades upon decades for you name it. It could be used for mothers are born, not made. Think about that statement, whether or not it's true. Teachers are born, not made. Can a teacher, a person, be born with the innate ability to teach? Yes, of course they can. We all have different gifts. We all have different abilities, and sometimes those gifts kind of lead us towards what we're going to do with our life. But not everybody is just born with an innate ability to teach or an innate ability to play the piano. Think about playing the piano. You started when you were younger. You started with a teacher, most likely learning how to play and how to acquire this ability. That was obviously through time you were made a piano player. So think about how that statement applies to a teacher. Can a teacher only be born, or can a teacher also be made into a teacher? Yes. So this statement, teachers are born, not made, is actually false. Teachers can be made. They can be equipped. They can be taught how to teach. And that is what I want to look at today. If you if you have a Bible, I'm going to take a look at a couple verses just to give us a good foundation, what to start from as a biblical Christian, or as a Christian. I want to have a biblical view of everything that I do. And so with that, I'm going to set my foundation on the truth, which is the Word of God. So Romans 12, 5 through 9, it says, talking about different gifts that the body of Christ has, and how we're not supposed to be conformed to the world. We're supposed to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. Then it talks again about how we are gifted with different gifts, and that each member of the body has a different ability, a different purpose. And in Romans 12, verses 7 through 8, it says, it's talking about having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let prophecy according to the appropriation of faith, or ministry, this is another gift, let us wait on our ministering, or he that teacheth on teaching, or he that exhorteth on exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with the simplicity. He that ruleth with diligence. He that showeth mercy with cheerfulness. So teaching is a gift that God has given certain people, but we can all learn how to hone that gift and to actually do it well. Another verse in 1 Corinthians 12, 7 through 8 says, but the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit. So we serve a God who has given each of us a different gift, and somebody might just have the gift of knowledge. Somebody might have the gift of teaching or prophecy, which would be like back in that day would be like our day would be like preaching. Another gift would be wisdom. So think about your ability to play the piano at this point. You've been trained up to this point, and now it's time to pass that on to someone else. So the role of a teacher, the importance of teaching your skill to someone else is very, very important. I want you to remember that there are many people in the Bible God has used to do his work, and there hasn't been a specific personality. There's probably all kinds of personalities. Think about the disciples. They all were very, very different. Peter was a very, very headstrong type of a guy. And then you had John, who was, we would say, a little bit more of a meek and quiet spirit. So there's not a specific blueprint for a successful teacher. The different ways that you teach will reach your different students. So don't think that just because you're more of a quiet person or because you're more of a headstrong person that you don't have the ability to teach. You can still learn, and you can still really cultivate that ability to teach others. So keep that in mind. If you're going to teach, you need to be teachable, and you need to be willing to learn from other people as well. There are 5 basic qualities of a good teacher. And I'm going to list them really quickly, and then we're going to talk about them individually. The first one is knowledge. Okay. Second one is personality. The third one is enthusiasm. The fourth one is self-confidence. And the fifth one is diagnostic ability. I'll say those again. Knowledge, personality, enthusiasm, self-confidence, diagnostic ability. Okay, so first off, knowledge. Knowledge is obviously what you know, okay? So at this point in your career, your musical career, you have enough knowledge to be able to pass this on to someone else. You know where middle C is. You know what basic rhythm is. All of those things should give you the confidence to be able to teach. You have the knowledge to be able to do it. You would not be able to teach somebody if you didn't have the knowledge. So that is the first quality of a good teacher. The second quality is personality. Now I'm going to list a couple things under personality just to give you some ideas and to give you some pointers. Be encouraging. Nobody wants to go to a piano lesson and be discouraged, okay? Because that's not fun. So be encouraging, be uplifting. Be real, okay? So you don't need to fake it. You don't need to pretend that everything is great when it's not. And you don't need to pretend that you're awesome when you're not. So you need to be a real person, be understanding. So be encouraging, be real, be patient, okay? Patience is going to be the key to a lot of teaching opportunities that you have with students. Be patient with your students. And number 4, listen. Okay, so these are 4 things that you should be doing under your personality. Your personality might be more quiet. Your personality might be more outgoing. That's okay. It doesn't matter, but be these 4 things. Okay, so even if it's not in your personality to be patient, try your best to be patient. Okay. The third quality was enthusiasm. Okay, so nobody wants to go to a piano lesson and be bored or be not excited. So make it exciting, make it fun. Be excited about a piece that a student is learning that they're not excited about. They might catch some of that enthusiasm. So be enthusiastic and excited about teaching them. When they see that you're excited about what you can teach them, they themselves will be excited. And then self-confidence. This is not talking about I am just so awesome, I'm going to teach this person. That's not what it's about. Self-confidence is really just, yes, being confident in yourself, but only because you know that this is what God has given you to do. Okay, so this is not a race. This is not a competition. Who can be the best teacher here? you're just simply trying to help this student learn the skills that it takes, and trying to be there for them and be their coach and be their teacher, be somebody who can nurture their abilities. And every student is different, so you're going to have to take each situation or each student differently. But be confident in that, and just know you have the knowledge, and you are going to work on your personality to be the kind of teacher you need to be, and your enthusiasm. Those are all things that are great qualities, and things that you should be striving for in your teaching, to help your students the best that you can. And the last thing was diagnostic ability. Okay, so this might be kind of like, what? I don't know what that means. So this just simply means being able to, for instance, sit down and hear somebody play something, but be able to know immediately what they need to work on, and being able to articulate that in articulate it in such a way that the student can understand, not in a way that they're like, well, I just played it all wrong, I just want to give up. So your diagnostic ability is being able to sum up what a student needs to work on, or how they can improve their particular piece. It takes experience, okay, because you might go into it thinking, I don't really know what to tell them. But it takes time, it takes experience. But with your knowledge and with your enthusiasm and self-confidence and your personality, you'll be able to work on this ability with time. A couple things that you can watch out for when you're trying to diagnose something is to watch their rhythm, their note accuracy, paying attention to details like the dynamics and things like that. Phrasing and expression is a big one. Really, really watch that. That is something that I think every musician kind of struggles with. And the overall performance, and how the student has confidence, and whether or not they're struggling a little bit. As much as you can, try to be encouraging with them. So those are a couple of things, and it takes time, it takes just experience. I mean, I remember when I first learned how to drive, I knew I passed the test. I knew exactly how to make this point turn or whatever, but it takes experience doing it. And that is what my instructor told me, is you know what you're doing, but now it's just getting on the road and actually getting that experience. And that's what teaching is all about. The only way you can learn is to actually do it. So we went over the 5 basic qualities, but I want to go over types of students that you'll be working with, okay? And some of this might sound redundant, but it's still important to just take note of. So think about the different students you'll be working with. We're going to talk about beginner students, okay? So beginner students would be ages between 3 and 5 years old, usually preschool age. This is very early instruction, like how to sit at the piano and how to have a rounded hand shape, and really actually before they start learning their notes, they're learning where the black keys and white keys are. So this is very, very early. It is usually best done in a group setting, but some students might need that one-on-one instruction. Use lots of games and lots of motivation, like stickers and candy and things like that. So for the beginners, we've got the preschool age, and we've also got an average age beginner, which is around 7 years old. Just keep in mind when you're looking at a student, especially beginner, young beginner, whether they're 3, 5, or 6 or 7, you're going to be looking for a couple of things. They need to be able to sit still for at least 15 minutes, because you can add in games and things to keep them occupied. But they need to be able to sit still and listen to what you're saying and instruction. They also need to be able to, for instance, preschoolers need to be able to count up to 10. They need to be able to distinguish between their left and right hand, and they need to be able to say their ABCs. Those are just some very basic things in order to learn their finger numbers and to be able to tell the difference between which hand they're using. They need to definitely be able to do that. But for the average age beginner, again, we need to be able to sit still. The parent needs to be involved. Candies and stickers always help. Rewards always help. And repetition is key, okay? So we're not able to learn a whole lot if we're not repeating what we're learning. So repetition is key. Another type of student would be an adult beginner. You might come across these. Lots of adults hit their later in age, they decide, I never got to learn how to play a musical instrument, and they regret it, so they really want to get back into it, or they really want to just start to learn a new instrument. So you'll come across quite a few adults that really, really desire to learn how to play the piano, and it's exciting because they almost have the enthusiasm of a little kid, but in so many ways they've already matured. So there's lots of tips I can give. Talk to them on their level. Communicate and explain. And I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong thing. For an adult, we're talking about an adult here. Adult here. Yeah, okay. Communicate and explain in words that are more of adult language, okay? So we're not going to talk about the little sailman's inside your hand. We're not going to talk to them like that. We're just going to say, you need to have a rounded handshake, and they'll understand what you're talking about. They may have a problem with their actual physical development because they're not used to playing the piano, so they are going to have sometimes flat fingers, or they might just be really stiff because it just doesn't come natural to them. They haven't been doing it for so many years, so just watch out for that. They will be able to move pretty quickly. Surprisingly enough, adults understand the theory and the actual concepts really quick, but they're not always able to actually deliver, accomplish the said piece with some time. And that can be frustrating for them because they want to just learn it overnight, because they can type and they can do so many things, drive a car. Well, why can't I do this? Why can't I play an instrument? But you have to remind them to take time with it. It's a skill that has to be learned over time, and just be patient with themselves because they tend to get a little bit frustrated. Another type of student you might have is a transfer student. So somebody who has already been taking lessons from a previous teacher, and they decide, I want to move to either they move or they just want to change teachers. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with changing teachers and learning from different people. I have quite a few transfer students as well. So just keep in mind that if a transfer student does come to you and they say, I've been playing for 10 years, that doesn't necessarily tell you that they're at advanced level. You need to keep in mind that there might have been gaps in those years, or they might just be a little bit slower at learning the piano, and that's fine. But you do need to take the individual at their level, not the years that they've been playing. So take time to actually diagnose them and assess where they're at. Have them play a couple pieces for you. Watch their attention to detail. So again, that diagnostic ability comes in. Watch their rhythm, their notes, dynamics, and articulation. Let them play a song of their choosing, not something you just throw up in front of them. You don't want them to, yes, sight reading is a good ability to have, but you don't want them to feel uncomfortable playing for you. And that does have a catch side to it. You want to make sure that they can read music and they're not just playing from memory. So there are a couple things you have to watch out for a transfer student. Intermediate students, these are usually middle school age. Understand that they have a different personality than elementary kid. They're very motivated because they are challenged by their peers and they want to look good, but they also might have some issues with their attitude. So just be creative and patient and interested in areas of their life. This is where your personality is going to come in and being able to relate to them. You want to try to build rapport with each student and be able to just have an interest in their life and make it to where they're comfortable around you. And it's not just you're there to teach them music, but you actually care about them. Encourage them in every lesson. There's also high school students. We won't go over a ton of that because you probably won't be teaching high school students at this point unless they're a beginner. And then advanced students will be down the road, which we can go over that at a later time. So, of course, there's always exceptions to these ages. You might have a preschool or an elementary kid who is extremely gifted and just advances really fast. And that's amazing. That's awesome. They might be at a more of an early intermediate level, which is great. That's awesome. So keep in mind these ages aren't exact, but they're kind of, your average preschoolers between 3 and 5, your average beginners between 6 and 8. And then you got your middle school age. They might be beginners too, or they might already have been playing for a couple years. So each student is different, but that just kind of gives you an idea of the age range and the what you're working with there. Okay, so I had a couple other things I wanted to just go over with you. One second. And that is just going over the week 1 assignments and what you're going to need to do. So obviously if you watch this video, you're at the end of the video by now. So you're going to also finish the first test. So over everything I just went over with you. There's just going to be some questions on there, so I hope you took notes, and I would like for you to, it's open book, so whatever you took notes, whatever notes you took, you can use that for the quiz, okay? So it's not like you have to memorize everything I just said. Go ahead and use your notes for the quiz, okay? That's kind of the purpose of you taking notes, is to be able to just hear what I'm saying and then write it down. That's a really good learning tool. So finish the quiz, and then there's two other assignments. So watch a video, and I have it in the syllabus, but watch a video by Frances Clark. It's a lecture that she did. I'm not exactly sure where it was, but she was actually talking to a group of teachers, which is really, really cool. And you might get the opportunity one day to do something like that, go to a convention or something like that where teachers are teaching teachers. And the name of her lecture was The Whole of Teaching. So she's encompassing this entire art of teaching into a 10-minute lecture, and she does a phenomenal job with it. You'll have to give it a couple minutes. You might be wondering where she's going with it, and it's a little hard to hear. But it's really, really good. She's got some wonderful insight to she had been teaching for years. She's passed away now, but she'd been teaching for a long time. And I would recommend, if you ever have somebody who's been teaching a long time, ask them questions and really, really dig in and try to figure out what they did. And you might even learn what not to do. Then that's okay. But I know a couple teachers in the area that have been teaching for 50 plus years, and I'm just always asking them questions. How do you motivate students? How do you do this? How do you do that? And they always give me such good advice. So it's very helpful to get advice from other people. And then read this short biography. I couldn't find a very good link to a biography of her, but they set up I think it's a fund or some kind of a trust or something like that in her name, and they have a school by her and everything. So I found this short letter biography in there, and I just want you to do a little bit of research about her just to kind of get an idea of what teaching really is, because she was really just a formidable leader in that area in piano pedagogy. So I want you to read that at least that one biography, and then if any more, if you want to Google her name just to kind of get some more information, you might even find some really cool stuff that I wasn't able to find. So that's the first week. Okay, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Finish that quiz, and hopefully you'll get something out of this. And I hope that it's helpful for you, and try to just think about this information throughout this week, and just think about your role as a teacher and what it means from a Christian standpoint, and also just practically speaking, how are you going to go about having the qualities that you need to have And again, just keep in mind it takes experience, and I don't even really have a ton of experience, but I had some great teachers that I've tried to model, and I've tried my best to be who I am and a real person. I'm not trying to fake it and trying to be somebody I'm not, but just trying to help the people that I have the opportunity to teach. So I will see you guys next week. Have a great week. Bye.